I think she's a powerful force of good and positive energy.
But she ain't no Elon.
But she also brought us Dr. Oz and The Secret. We have to remember what this lady has done.
She has to be held accountable.
I forgive her, but I mean, cut the shit. The Secret is a particularly egregious offense.
What, you don't believe?
You don't believe?
Oh, believe?
Believe?
I want to be rich. I am rich.
I imagine myself flying. I can fly. I will beat my wings until I take off.
Oprah once ruled a media world with book clubs, heartfelt interviews, and a velvet grip on pop culture. But that reign is under siege. Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson have burst onto the scene like wrecking balls at a high society tea party, trading polite applause for verbal uppercuts and backlit roast sessions. Rogan brings the raw questions, Tucker the smirk and flame. The result? A chaotic takedown of Oprah's carefully curated image. Is this the unraveling of her media empire, or just the opening act in the fiercest PR battle of her career? She never saw it coming.
Oprah Winfrey, she's worth $3 billion. She's up there talking about all the racism she encountered.
But okay, so Oprah Winfrey is American, but Kamala Harris, Jamaicans are not Americans, A. B, not oppressed in any sense. They're actually very successful in the United States. Caribbeans in general, I think, make more than native-born whites. They're successful, they're entrepreneurial. They're not part of the history of racism and slavery in the United States, just the opposite. They just showed up here. So, like, this is ridiculous.
Oprah was never just a talk show host. She was a cultural force. A spiritual guide, a wellness guru, a billionaire kingmaker, and the unofficial therapist for suburban moms everywhere. Her approval could turn anything to gold. Her disapproval could end careers. She gave away cars like candy, turned unknown authors into literary icons, and made audiences cry without warning. For decades, she didn't just influence culture, she was a culture.
Joe Rogan is calling out Oprah and Michelle Obama for hypocritical speeches at the DNC. Watch.
She's up there talking about income inequality. Like, hey, lady.
Yeah, I know.
You're rich as like, how is that equal?
But now the glitter is peeling, slowly, painfully, and in a twist dripping with cosmic irony, the wrecking crew is led by two wildly different media beasts. Joe, DMT, and Deadlift's Rogan and Tucker bow tie revenge Carlson. No alliance, no handshake. No shared mission. Yet somehow, both crash into the same cultural wreckage. Oprah's once invincible empire now shakes under the weight of their separate, savage, and strangely synchronized takedowns.
Have you noticed that it is more controversial to criticize Oprah than to burn the American flag?
Really?
Seems that way. I've never heard anybody criticize Oprah. Do you think it's political or do you think it's deeper than that? I mean, you're not like a right-winger.
No.
No? You don't even seem that political.
No, I'm not really. I'm pretty much, just want to do right by the people,
Let's start with Joe, the patron saint of Skeptical Brothers, a former MMA commentator turned podcast titan. He shoots the breeze with astrophysicists, hunters, conspiracy buffs, and gym rats like they're Barstool regulars. Then, out of nowhere, Oprah's name drops into the mix. No interview, no scandal, just Joe's nonsense radar blaring like a 5-alarm fire. And just like that, the queen of daytime finds herself squarely in his crosshairs.
Oh, you remember the time Oprah had that lady on, its face bit off by the chimp?
Stay there.
And she showed her face on TV?
Oh, yeah.
Miraculously, she survived just the unimaginable. Her name is Charla Nash. Charla almost always covers her face with the hat and scarf. She wears it, she says, because she doesn't want to scare people.
The lady was wearing a veil over her face, like, let's see your face, come on. She pulls the veil away.
Like a Nope?
What are you doing?
Would you mind lifting the veil? Oh, no, so we can see? You could take the hat off. Oh, the hat comes off. Yeah. Okay.
Here's a woman who built her empire on the promise of authenticity, yet curated every moment of her media presence with the precision of a Fortune 500 product launch. Joe sees right through it. He doesn't need a scandal or headline, just a faint whiff of contradiction. You can practically hear him smirking as he picks apart her legacy like an expired protein bar, still stamped organic. It starts with the wellness vortex. Oprah's public image glows with self-betterment, but her version is wrapped in miracle smoothies, tearful gurus, and luxury life coaches. Joe begins tugging at those glossy threads, questioning the miracle diet she endorsed, the spiritual fads drenched in pseudo-wisdom, and a familiar tango between empowerment and product placement. Oprah says, you can have it all, Just buy this book, join this lifestyle brand, and chant affirmations beside a vision board made from repurposed yoga mats. Joe, somewhere between a kettlebell swing and an elk meat anecdote, calls it what is commodified enlightenment, a polished infomercial cloaked in empathy. He doesn't rant. He doesn't rage. He just lets out that quiet, knowing laugh, the kind that cuts deeper than outrage, the kind that says, "Ah, so this is the game now." And somehow, that laugh lands harder than 1,000 op-eds.
Oprah on abortion.
If you do not have autonomy over this, if you cannot control when and how you choose to bring your children into this world and how they are raised and supported, there is no American dream.
There's no American dream without abortion. That to me sounds like a woman that's had an abortion. I don't know, but that's what it sounds like to me.
Well, it's such a grotesque and crazy thing to say that clearly it's coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
And then there's the expert entourage. Oprah's carefully curated army of gurus, doctors, and sages turned household names. Joe sees them too. The daytime wisdom wizards who evolved into Senate hopefuls, TED Talk darlings, and pharmaceutical pitchmen. It's like Oprah opened a portal where charisma trumps credentials, and Joe's just watching spectacle with a bowl of organic, non-GMO popcorn. He doesn't lash out. He pokes with precision. Simple questions that unravel the myths. Why does a high priestess of authenticity orbit so many walking PR disasters? Why does every emotional confession feel like a trailer for a product launch? And why does someone who preaches being real run a media empire that feels more Pentagon than personal? Joe doesn't need volume. The contradictions shout for him. His quiet dismantling, laced with amused disbelief, gets his audience chuckling, raising eyebrows, and connecting dots they'd never noticed. No smear campaign, no takedown special, just well-aimed skepticism. And slowly, the pedestal Oprah built over decades begins to wobble, not because someone kicked it, but because, for the first time, someone simply asked, why is it there in the first place?
Did you see the Oprah interview?
No.
It's off the rails.
Yeah,
off the rails.
I heard about it.
Into fucking wine mom country again.
Wow.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun.
I did not know that.
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, I hear that.
Tim Dillon is the best. Tim Dillon's like, she's saying gypsy curses. What is she saying?
Now, enter Tucker Carlson, a storm of a very different kind. While Joe Rogan slices with humor and curiosity, Tucker shows up wielding a sledgehammer wrapped in red, white, and blue. In his world, Oprah isn't just a media mogul. She's a symbol, a soft-spoken Trojan horse for every elite narrative the establishment wants fed to the public. He's not interested in her book clubs or cozy lists of favorite things. What he sees is a billionaire cloaked in compassion, delivering moral sermons from a marble kitchen in Montecito. To Tucker, Oprah is a face of selective outrage, outspoken when it's safe, silent when it matters, and somehow always aligned with corporate comfort. Her brand glistens with polish, but that very sheen makes her suspect. So he starts digging into her endorsements, her political breadcrumbs, her cultural gestures. All those eloquent, calculated stances that sound deep but risk nothing. Yes, Oprah has influence, but Tucker wants to know what kind and who's profiting from it. He highlights how she's managed to be everything to everyone. Feminist icon, corporate powerhouse, spiritual guru, charitable saint. And yet somehow, no one's thought to pull back the curtain. Until now.
Oprah, who's involved with Weight Watchers, just apologized for preaching personal accountability over the past decades. She said it's not personal accountability. We're supporting Ozempic. This is becoming, obesity is becoming something.
You think Oprah got paid?
She's highly involved with Weight Watchers. Yeah, Weight Watchers has shifted from a personal accountability organization that it's been preaching for decades and is now a prescriber of Ozempic. They've totally changed because Ozempic is a better business model because you never go off of it.
This is insane. So maybe one of the reasons this is accepted, people don't see it as totally crazy as I do.
And Tucker, bless his cable news heart, rips that curtain down like it's a finale of a reality show. There's no soft focus nostalgia, no cozy fireside chats. He doesn't see a media icon. He sees machinery. A billionaire dressed as your personal life coach, orchestrating a media empire that shapes the national psyche like wet clay. Where Joe chuckles at contradictions, Tucker roars about control. Joe skewers wellness trends with a smirk. Tucker nearly foams at the thought of Oprah sculpting the cultural narrative while playing the role of the relatable friend on your screen. Here's the twist. Neither of them needs Oprah to clap back. She's not in the room. She's not part of the conversation. They're not talking to her. They're dissecting her. In their eyes, she's no longer a person but a symbol. To Joe, she's a brand gone too far, a cautionary tale stamped on the packaging of commodified authenticity. To Tucker, she's the velvet-gloved avatar of elite manipulation, soothing while steering. And somehow, they both land on the same truth. Oprah may still be selling hope, but fewer people are lining up at the register. The real blow doesn't come from scandal or soundbite. It comes from contrast. Joe delivers his critique with amused attachment, Tucker with righteous fury. But in both hands, Oprah's empire isn't just questioned. It's carefully dismantled. No outrage necessary. Just a steady light cast on what was hiding in plain sight all along.
See Oprah fall down?
Yes, and it's honestly...
She's a little old to be falling down. You loved it?
I loved it.
Wow.
Loved it. She
You
didn't
like
get
when
hurt.
people get hurt.
She's fine.
She's dead.
She died?
Yes.
All right. Ding dong. The witch is dead.
She didn't.
No,
Imagine if she did, and I was
if she died from the
joking
fall.
about her.
Yeah.
No, she didn't die.
No, she's fine. I just think like
she looks like she got hurt.
It's nice to see billionaires fall.
Oh.
How about that?
Well, that's weird.
Why is Oprah preaching simplicity from a 65-acre state? Why is she championing empowerment while spinning billion-dollar branding empires out of other people's trauma? And why does she only seem to speak out once the applause is already deafening? These aren't hit jobs. They're exposés dipped in sarcasm and served piping hot to an internet that devours them like the last slice of truth pizza at a wellness retreat. Joe's audience laughs knowingly. Tucker's frowns with suspicion. Two wildly different crowds, two completely different tones. And yet, both are starting to ask the same uncomfortable question. Wait, maybe she's not the untouchable moral icon we thought she was. That's the brilliance of it. There's no conspiracy, no coordination. Just two cultural titans on opposite ends of the media battlefield, noticing the same cracks in the polished facade. It doesn't feel like coincidence. It feels like reckoning. This isn't cancellation. Oprah's too massive, too entrenched, too iconic for that. No, this is something far subtler and far more dangerous. Public disillusionment. The slow, creeping erosion of trust. Admiration fading. The applause no longer automatic. There's no dramatic fall from grace. Just a myth quietly unraveling, thread by golden thread. And for someone who built an empire on belief, that kind of slow burn reckoning might be the most perilous downfall of all.
Let's think of when The Secret came out. I want to say that was like 2006-ish.
2004.
2006.
Nice.
Okay. So 12 years ago, she was 50 years old. How the do you not know when you're 50 years old and worth $1 billion that that's not how it works?
That it's hocus pocus.
Yeah, it's not hocus pocus.
Yeah.
And to sell that to people is crazy. And that's a book that sold, I think I was reading, it sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 million copies.
Oprah doesn't need defending, at least not publicly. She's not hitting the podcast circuit or dialing into cable debates. She's staying silent, watching, waiting, hoping this wave of backlash rolls back quietly into the digital ocean. But once a myth starts to splinter, it's nearly impossible to patch it back together. People remember. People share receipts. They start lining up the woman who told us to find our truth against the empire she built selling hers like premium content. And right in the middle of the storm, Joe and Tucker are lobbing grenades, each in their own signature style. Joe, with his sly grin and surgical logic. Tucker, with his furrowed brow and righteous fire. One dissects the illusion, the other detonates it. They're not allies, not collaborators, not even remotely on the same ideological map. But somehow, together, they've punched just enough air out of the Oprah balloon to make it lurch, not explode, but stagger. Even her most loyal fans are starting to feel it, that subtle shift. Because once you start to see the media queen as just another polished product in the marketplace of influence, the questions come fast and sharp. Who put her on the throne? Why did we hand her the crown? And maybe most haunting of all, how did we not notice until now? It's not just the scrutiny that stings, it's the timing. The cultural current has turned. There was a time when Oprah was the fixed point on our moral compass. Now she's a gleaming luxury yacht, adrift in an age of raw, unfiltered, digital pirate radio, with no map, no anchor, and the whole world watching.
One of the more I want to say disturbing, but it was confusing when that was taking hold with people. when I had friends that were telling me that The Secret is real and that they imagined they were going to fulfill these childhood dreams that they had about whatever, being a fucking astronaut, whatever it would be. There's a couple people that I knew that were trying to tell me that The Secret was going to be the thing and that they had a vision board and they had photographs, they put pictures up of the things that they wanted. Like them in front of large crowds and shit. And I'm like, oh boy.
Them in front of large crowds.
This is so not how it works.
At Rogan, he's drifting by in a kayak made of elk meat and First Amendment vibes, casually sipping a protein shake while pointing at every glittering contradiction with that trademark smirk. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. The evidence is scattered like breadcrumbs at a detox retreat. Here's Oprah preaching balance and mindfulness while promoting a 10-part docuseries on trauma, bundled, of course, with a branded yoga mat and a lavender candle. Joe unpacks at the way he'd scrutinize the label on a sketchy supplement. He cuts through the fog of wellness jargon, past the moon-charged water bottles and self-help sages with publicists, to reveal the machine beneath it all, an empire built on the idea that you are the problem, unless you buy her solution. And Oprah's original audience, the daytime faithful who once saw her as the voice of the people, they're beginning to feel something unfamiliar. Not betrayal, exactly. More like quiet disillusionment. Like realizing your life coach was also the one upselling the couch you cried on. Joe never says it outright, but he paints a vivid portrait. A woman who once embodied raw humanity, now insulated by brand deals, polished mantras, and designer self-help. Not malicious, not even hypocritical. Just glaringly obvious. Then there's Tucker, locked in from across the cultural battlefield, cannon loaded, eyes fixed on the pedestal. He's not wasting time with green juice critiques or vision board takedowns. He's focused on the structure, politics, influence, cultural dominance, all wrapped in Oprah's serene smile. To him, she's not just another overhyped mogul. She's a velvet-clad gatekeeper, the nation's moral compass, forged in a boardroom. One emotional Oprah monologue and the national mood shifts. One raised eyebrow and a public figure's fate dims. That kind of soft power doesn't scream, it persuades. And that, Tucker argues, is the most dangerous kind. It doesn't coerce, it convinces. It cloaks elite privilege in relatable wisdom. It manufactures consent with a soothing voice and impeccable lighting. So Tucker rips off the veil. He presents Oprah as the emotional ambassador of the elite, the comforting face of curated inequality. She consoles the masses while dining with CEOs. She speaks from the heart while floating on legacy wealth, optics, and award show applause. The sting isn't in the volume, it's in the resonance. He doesn't have to call her corrupt. He just presents a resume, billionaire gatekeeper, platformer of pseudoscience, curator of mainstream morality, then lets the contradictions hang in the air. Because the real question, the one her empire was never built to withstand, is starting to bubble up. How can someone that rich, that powerful, that adored, still be cast as the every woman? It's the oldest illusion in the book, turning gold into tears and then monetizing both. And the audience, they're not angry. They're not flipping tables. They're thinking, blinking, asking the question that makes myths crumble. What if we were wrong? Not a scandal, not a takedown, just a flicker of doubt. And when that flicker spreads, the magic starts to fade.